Okay, here in step 139, we're going to apply masking tape to sand our destabilizing fins. Now this one is kind of weird in that the high point on the fins is an imaginary line, like about that. I hope you can see that. Kind of like comes from the middle of this notch right there, and it extends down. We're going to bevel from this way down and then this way forward on both sides. And so that is where I'm going to put my tape. Put one there and then one here. And then I'm going to take some sandpaper and start the process of beveling. Okay, so we're going to go down to a point here. Getting there, a long way to go. Do both sides. Okay, I'm going to remove my tape and then reapply on the opposite side. That, and then this one is going to be beveled that way. And we're not going all the way to a point on this back end. So we've got to be beveled like halfway. So we want to square it off, so you can square off that bottom. Okay, so you can see my middle right here. So I'll start this side. All right, now one of the things is this destabilizing alignment guide. Make sure that they'll pass through pretty easily. See, like mine is a little bit tight, so I got to go a little bit skinnier right here at the bottom. Okay, so that does go through. And now we also want to round off this edge right here. And you'll notice there is a small hole right here. Don't plug that hole because we're going to use that hole later. There's a piece of music wire that goes in there for an antenna or a pitot tube. Not sure exactly what it is, but it kind of goes forward. So we're going to do this sanding to all 4 of the destabilizing fins. And then when you're done, go ahead and put the wood filler on, smooth them out like before, and eventually, well, actually, there's a step before we do that. Hold off on that, and we'll be back for step 143 in just a minute. My destabilizing fins are sanded and everything's ready to go. In step 143, we're going to take a sharp hobby knife and we're going to cut 4 1/2 inch long pieces from the 1/8 inch dowel. And we want to keep these nice and square. So I'm going to assume that this is 1/4 or 1/2 inch. And I'm going to roll it on my table and press down hard till it snaps off like that. Then I want to take some sandpaper and make sure that that end is nice and square. At least one of them is nice and square. So once you get that, then you're going to take your destabilizing fin. Before you glue it together, just take a file and flatten out this little notch. Just it makes it nicer looking. And then this dowel is going to be glued into this slot. And again, if it doesn't fit, and if it's a little tight, just take your file and make it a little bit looser so that it's just nice and snug. Then we're going to take some medium CA and we're going to glue it in place like that. All right, so I don't want any glue above that notch, this edge of this notch. And once this glue is hard, and I'll harden it real quick with some accelerator. Our next step is to fill that gap along the dowel with some putty. I'm going to use wood filler again. Mine's a little bit runny, so I'm going to try to scrape along the sides where it's less runny. Fill that in, and again, we only want anything above this line. We don't want to get any filler in there. And we're trying to make that nice and flush. And do that to both sides. Now, when this filler dries, it kind of shrinks a little bit because it has water in it. So you might have to do this twice. All right, so I'll go on to step 146 while that's drying. Okay, in step 146, we need to cut out 4 of these pitot tube mounting plates, and they're in the cardstock sheet. I've already cut some out. Get my 4th one right here. Okay, and now you see this small gray hole. We need to open that up, and the instructions say to use the 1/16 inch piece of music wire. What I'm going to do first is I'm going to cut across in the middle of that. Try to open it up a little bit, and then I'm going to take my knife and I'm going to plunge it in and twist it around. It's going to make it a little fuzzy, but we'll sand that off later. So now you'll be able to get that music wire through. So here I have my destabilizing fins, and in step 147, we're going to mount these to here. In step 148, we're actually going to put the fill and finish on it, or whatever sanding sealer you want on it. You might want to do the sanding sealer first so that everything is nice and smooth, which is what I did. What it tells you to do is to first take one of these little mounting plates and pre-curl it by wrapping it around some kind of small little dowel, because it's going to get glued on the edge right where that hole is. And we want the chamfered ends pointing to the tip. And we're going to use the music wire as a guide to get it into the right spot. So it's going to go into that hole. And I find that that hole is a little tight. So I got a 1/16 inch drill bit, and I'm just going to twist it around in there to kind of round it out a little bit. Don't make me bring out the drill. Here we go. So now I'll be able to get that in. Okay, so it's going to get glued on like that. All right, so I am going to take some medium CA, and I'm going to put it on the bottom side. And I wish I had a little plastic bag. I do, because we're going to have to touch this. Whenever you touch CA glue, you want to have a plastic bag to do that, because otherwise you're going to stick. So I want to get that dowel in there, and I'll push it down. And here's when I want to smash it down with the plastic. Then I'm going to pull this out, give it a little twist as you pull it out, and smash that down so that it conforms nicely to the edge. That doesn't look too bad. Now you can take a little bit of thin CA, and I'm going to touch it to that hole just a little bit. And I want to touch up that hole, take that fuzz off. So this is not in the instructions, but it's worth doing. Clean out that hole again. Okay, so now my hole looks a lot cleaner. Yeah, that's much better. Okay, so we're going to do that to all 4 fins. And in step 148, we're going to seal these and make them nice and smooth. So do all 4 of them, and that will conclude up to 148.